Okay, where do you start? Where can you start, man? Um, as a backpacking country, Cuba, different, very different from definitely all the other countries I've backpacked in Latin America mainly. Hey, um, I guess Cuba seems, my experience here seems Cuba is more in line to for the people who have got some more money, you know. Um, It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy, but it's been possible. There's very little information, very little information that I've come across to help people with little money to go backpacking around Cuba. But it's possible. But all in all, 3 weeks I've managed, and it's been good. Yeah, it's been super fun.
How did you find about this hostel here?
Internet, back in Guatemala where I live. Just going on the internet, finding the cheapest hostel possible, and this was it. This one came up, and I just clicked it, and yeah, that was fast and easy. Because I heard before you go to the airport, you have to have proof of a place, that you have residence, that you live, that you're going to stay in Cuba, and so I booked it on the internet. It was like 50 cents over the dollar or something to reserve the place. No, you did the same, no?
No, I just
You didn't. You just
came, yeah.
okay,
And,
right?
they had
They had a
4
space.
days of space,
Right.
yeah.
So I did that, and yeah, that was it. Yeah, but this has been the cheapest place I stayed in, all over Cuba. I mean, I think the most expensive I paid for a night was around 20 cook, which is what, $20, no? Yeah.
And were you just by yourself in the room, or you were
All by
sharing?
myself, no. Big room, fancy room, nice, massive, but too much, way too much, Own bathroom and everything, very nice, but that money I would have spent somewhere else rather than living in a big fancy room,
But don't you think, like, I mean, when you share with other people, then it becomes a bit cheaper? Like
It
you
becomes
can
much
buy-
cheaper, exactly, and that's what I'm looking for, obviously, to have the experience backpacking, with the amount of money that we have, We're on a budget, and we always are,
You wanna just talk about this house here, the hostel here?
Hostel, yeah, I mean, this is, for me, a typical backpacker's hostel, which is perfect. When I arrived here, I was like, wait, cool, man, there'll be hostels like this all over the place. I was wrong, there wasn't, But this, to start off with, this is a good hostel, and I hope there'll be many more popping up, man, around Trinidad, which has, did you stay in dormitories yourself?
I know we stayed in a casa.
In a casa, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, dormitory, not one I heard of even. I didn't hear of any hostels going for $5 a night. In this sort of style with bunk beds. So for me, I think these guys will set the example. And I've met a number of the people here. I've seen the first time I came, I've seen them on my travels, like you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they were backpacking. And they were the only backpackers actually that I could see.
Yeah. Yeah, usually they'll refer us to other castles.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah. So I think these guys, they've got it right, man. For our sort of niche, our niche that that we go backpacking, and I think Cuba's not the place for it yet, but it will become even more so. You can. It's not saying you don't come, but I mean it's going to be even better for backpackers, I think. And the food you can get cheap as well. If you find the right places, and if you eat locally, and maybe you get sick of pizzas all the time, but you can go into shops and buy bread, and you can, I guess, if you have a kitchen even, man, all those vegetables they're selling in the carts,
yeah,
you can buy those,
the
man.
market today, it was
Amazing.
big market,
The
yeah.
onions for a pound for 3 pesos,
Yeah.
I mean, you can eat cheap here, definitely. Yeah.
People I talked to the last few days are complaining about they're being ripped off because they are tourists.
Yeah.
Have you
All the
like,
time.
experienced
Yeah, but it comes with the territory. I mean, you are a tourist, and you accept it that you're a tourist. You can't tone it down. You cannot, because they know from your first sight how you act, how you look. You're not Cuban. You're a tourist. And these guys, I don't blame them sometimes. They take advantage. Opportunists. Why not? Yeah, and you have to swallow it. For me, I've been ripped off so many times, and I've, usually I would go back and say, "Come on, man, what do you do that for? What do you?" In the end, forget it. It's not worth it.
Can you tell me one time that you remember that you've been ripped off, or you're nearly been ripped off?
Yeah, so many, but I can't think of any. Okay, a simple one. I'm going to find an internet card or something. You internet is another thing. You go into this place and you buy the internet card, blah blah, and you pay this much, and then the 2 coins, the 3 peso coin, which is moneda nacional, and the 1 cook coin, they're both the same. They look exactly the same. So when you buy something in Cook, they give you back change in coins, but the coins you got to check. I didn't check. I got back maybe 5 coins, which was supposed to be 5 Cook. I walked out of the place, and I looked at the coin. I should have looked at it when I didn't even think about it. And they gave me 5 3 peso coins with national money coins, you know. And I thought about going in and say, yeah, here's, what's this? But there was a massive bloody line outside, and you can't push in. This is Cuba. You can't do that. You have to have a valid excuse. And if you're making trouble, you just, in the end, it wasn't worth it again. I got ripped off 5 Cook. Apart from that,
did you feel less safe?
Oh, safe. I think although you do hear people robbed and any violence, you hear about things, but I honestly felt more safe here than I have anywhere else where I've traveled. Honestly, I mean, the people here, you see them rough and tough, they're shouting and they're not very kind to you at first, no, as my experience. But then over time, that ice is broken, quite easily, and they're the loveliest people you can ever meet in the world. In the end, they're fantastic, beautiful people in Cuba. Personally speaking, much nicer than most of, the people in Latin America that I meet, honestly. This country is a lot friendlier, yeah. But I think it's just going through and just, breaking all those, boundaries that we have in our heads, about, being in a country. But you got to be wise, you got to be wise as well, you can't be stupid,
What will you tell, like, the person who's planning to come here for the first time, and how will they have to prepare so that they don't go through some of those problems?
Just dive into it. Just go for it. And yeah, if you're at your first hostel you're at, try and ask as many questions as possible to the people who own the place, and get as many answers. As many as you can before you head off. Write a list, and then just tick off what you need to know, really need to know, or do some research on the internet before you come as well.
Yeah. What kind of questions did you ask? Or did you?
Well, mainly about spending money as well. Mainly it was about money. I was on a budget and I needed to make sure I had enough money for the whole trip. I'm leaving tomorrow, and thank God it was good, fine, no problem. Mainly about where you can eat cheaply, and if you're allowed to spend national money in these places or not. If you're allowed to go on these local buses or not. What do people think? You're gonna be a little bit, culturally sensitive as well. For the people, you shouldn't be. You can't be so selfish either and think about yourself all the time. You have to realize that this country's been through a lot of shit, and the people in it have, as well. So, yeah, just be. I think being culturally sensitive is also very important, eh? And be wise where you spend that money as well, no? And ask before you spend the money, say, can I pay with national here? And if they say no, don't worry, leave it, My response is, come on, why can't I? I would be like that normally, But then it comes down in my head thinking, oh, I'm in Cuba, obviously, things are, you tone it down a lot more since you're here, A lot more you tone it down because you're in Cuba. It's a different place, man, Even today, I walked into a bank.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me in because I wasn't wearing shoes. Now that any bank in the world, you can walk in a bank no problem with whatever you have on your feet, But they wouldn't let me in today because I had flip-flops on, So bring a pair of shoes, man.
That's so funny, man. You said you've been here for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You must have traveled to a lot of places. Can you just highlight some of the most interesting places or beaches or even... Yeah.
Well, it was a mix, man. I think for me, experience-wise, places, Cuba is such a mix. It has... You could be in... You feel like you're in different countries within the same country. Because each town I visited was completely different than the next, I arrived in Havana, left Havana, went to Vinales where I saw you. Yeah. And Vinales, super place. I loved it. Beautiful, really tranquil, the nice little houses, wide streets, and... not noisy, and people are friendly. They're very, very touristic, obviously, but not as compared to Trinidad, which is super touristic, and many more shops, and really lovely place, cobble streets and all, lovely, but very different again. A different sort of tourism there as well, and then not as much as Varadero, which is completely different still. That's super tourism. That's mad, man. I mean, that's Cancun. You know, that's Punta Cana in Dominican Republic. That's whatever all-inclusive resort, lovely, beautiful beach you can think of. You know, that's it. It's beautiful, but it's tourism. It's not backpacking tourism.
Yeah.
I mean, backpacking tourism haven't gone many places. Only had 3 weeks, so I didn't go east, man. I would love to go east next time. But I think the more east you go, I think you find these towns would be more in tune with backpacking, no? Yeah, all very different.
Anything you wanna add? Or?
No, I mean, come, man. I mean, you got to find out for yourself. That's it. For me, it's been, a pleasure to be here, and it's been a country that I'll definitely come back to, and it's opened, this part of the world even bigger now. I mean, it's so different than whatever other country I've been in Latin America, and this is the Caribbean, but still, it's different than, Haiti or Republic Dominicana, or Puerto Rico. This is completely different, and I think you should embrace it. Come and do it. Do it.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome, man.